All the Water in the World by Eiren Caffall. The story begins from the perspective of Nonie, a young girl living on the rooftop of what used to be the American Museum of Natural History, AMNH, now known as AMEN. Nonie, her older sister Bix, their father Alan, and a few other survivors including Keller, a kind entomologist, his wife Angel, and her nephew Mano, are dedicated to preserving what's left of the museum's collections. They live in a makeshift village, trying to save knowledge and artifacts from the relentless decay and occasional storms of the world as it is. Nonie has a special connection to water, a sensitivity she inherited from her mother, Claire, a marine biologist who studied the effects of climate change on sea butterflies, pteropods. Claire, who had been the one with keys to AMNH, is now deceased. Nonie keeps a water logbook, a shadow to the official museum logbook, where she records her observations about water, weather, and the changing world. This detail shows Nonie's connection to understanding, recording, and remembering. The narrative shifts to a catastrophic event. It's an unusually hot November night, and Nonie can't sleep. She has a sense that something is wrong. Suddenly, a hypercane, a theoretical superstorm predicted by Jess, another survivor at AMEN, strikes. The wind tears apart their rooftop settlement. Amidst the chaos, Nonie grabs her go-pack containing the logbook and a treasured photo of her mother. Father yells for them to run, and they scramble for the stairwell leading to the museum library stacks, a supposedly safe haven during storms. As they descend, Nonie witnesses a horrifying sight. A funnel cloud grabs the doorway where Jess and her baby, Evangeline, along with Sergio and Louis stand, throwing them into the sky. The stairwell collapses partially, pitching Nonie, Bix, Father, and Keller down the remaining stairs. Bix grabs a railing, saving Nonie from being sucked into the storm. They continue their desperate descent, holding hands in a chain. When they reach the library, it's destroyed, rubble and rain everywhere. Their safe place is gone. The narrative flashes back to the night they first came to AMEN. It was a previous storm that flooded their 10th Street apartment. Bix developed a deep-seated fear of water that night when a rogue wave swept her and mother away, separating them briefly. This event shaped Bix's character, making her both bold and terrified, adventurous yet deeply phobic of water. Back in the present, the hypercane rages. Keller leads them through the collapsing library and into the museum itself, seeking shelter in the Astor turret, a room with large windows overlooking the city. Bix freezes at the sight of the rising floodwaters. Father and Keller realize the floodgates protecting the city must have collapsed, causing an unprecedented surge. They decide they need a boat. The kayaks they stored are likely destroyed with the stacks. Keller remembers a birch bark canoe, an emergency backup, preserved in the Hall of Eastern Woodlands. Nonie leads them through the dark, flooded halls of the museum. They reach the Hall of Eastern Woodlands, smash the glass case containing the canoe, and retrieve it along with 3 carved wooden paddles. As they make their way back, the building groans under another onslaught. The water rises rapidly. Astor turret is shattered, windows and walls gone, the storm pouring in. The flood reaches the windowsills. They launch the canoe from the broken wall, floating out into the flooded city. They find Sergio's body, a grim reminder of the storm's devastation. They are the only survivors from AMEN. Leaving AMEN behind, they paddle north, navigating the treacherous currents and debris-filled waters of what was once Central Park. Bix is overwhelmed by the water but finds a small measure of purpose in bailing water from the canoe. They find a discarded metal pot in a flotilla of wreckage, and Bix uses this to bail. They find a little pemmican in Bix's pack and eat small mouthfuls. They discuss their destination, Tyringham, Mother's family farm, a taiga, a last safe place in the Berkshires. They are adrift and the future uncertain. The landscape is a surreal mix of submerged city and nature, reclaiming its territory. They pass floating debris, including photographs from the world as it was, remnants of a lost civilization. They see a submerged barricade of wreckage on Columbus Avenue, a testament to the storm's destructive power. Father insists on taking a detour to see their old family apartment on 93rd Street, a moment of nostalgia that Keller questions but ultimately supports. It is a way to acknowledge the loss of what they once had. They reach the Hudson River, now a vast, indistinguishable expanse of water, the floodgates gone. They see lights in the windows of the cloisters, a medieval art museum perched on a hill, a beacon of hope in the darkness. The tide shifts, pulling them back south, forcing them to seek land near the cloisters. Reaching the shore, they hide the canoe and approach the cloister's gates. They encounter Douglas, a seemingly welcoming but also wary man, who reveals that the cloisters, too, have been ravaged by the storm. Douglas explains that they had been taking in travelers but have decided to leave due to the recent devastation. Douglas allows them inside but insists they must leave at dawn. He reveals a chilling detail. They've been compiling stories of travelers in notebooks, a scriptorium echoing the work of monks in the Dark Ages. The cloisters has electricity, powered by generators, a stark contrast to the darkness they've grown accustomed to. They are given food, soap, and water, and a brief respite in a chapel. Alice Winslow, a shy woman with a bandage on her forehead, brings them supplies. Bix washes Nonie's hair, a tender moment between the sisters. Father and Keller return after hiding the boat. Douglas warns them about the sorting by color that's been happening outside Amen. He suspects that, because of Keller's race, the cloisters might not have welcomed them all if he'd been at the gate. The night ends with a sense of unease and uncertainty. The next morning, they are preparing to leave. Douglas says he needs them to leave. They show them the electric lights and the notebooks where they keep the record of anyone passing through. He suggests they are a lighthouse and that they will need to leave. Douglas gives them food and supplies. They leave the cloisters, paddling north on the Hudson. The river is a mix of beauty and desolation. They encounter sunken towns, power stations, and the remains of bridges. They discuss their route to Tyringham, a journey that will involve crossing the river and walking overland. They discover a disturbing scene, a forest of dead maple trees, victims of maple death, a consequence of the warming climate. They encounter a tidal bore, a mini tsunami caused by the shifting tide. Keller tells Nonie a story. He reveals that before Amen, Angel was pregnant. She lost the baby during a storm, and that has haunted him. This explains some of the distance he's felt from Bix after Mano's death. As they continue, Nonie senses an approaching storm. They seek shelter in a ruin on an island, later revealed to be Bannerman's Island Arsenal. The building is dilapidated and dangerous. Inside, they are attacked by two men, lost people desperate for supplies. Bix is injured, and in the ensuing struggle, she shoots and possibly kills the men. Father is shot in the chest. Keller dives into the water to retrieve their canoe, which has drifted away. It is a desperate, chaotic scene, full of violence and loss. They escape the ruin, with Father gravely wounded. Keller's lungs are full of water. They reach the shore of Storm King Mountain, where they make a makeshift camp. They are exhausted, injured, and traumatized. Bix helps Keller tend to Father's wound, but it's clear he's in critical condition. They are out of supplies and far from any help. Father dies during the night. The scene is heartbreaking, with Bix and Nonie grieving beside his body. Keller is devastated by guilt, feeling he failed to protect him. They bury Father under an oak tree on Storm King Mountain, a makeshift grave in a desolate landscape. Bix sings a hymn, a poignant moment of remembrance. They set off again, now only 3, with Keller weak and Bix injured. They are driven by the need to find medicine for Keller and for Bix's infected leg wound. They are low on water and food. Keller and Bix take turns to play Animal in Mind, the game that Keller and Nonie made up to pass time and remember facts. They reach a feral house, a dilapidated structure overtaken by nature. They take shelter there, but it's clear they can't stay long. Bix's leg is worsening, and Keller is still struggling. They continue on, reaching the Taconic Parkway, a ruined highway. They encounter more signs of a broken world, abandoned cars, burned-out buildings, and evidence of past violence. Mary reveals the history of Hancock. She tells them about the refugee camp in nearby Pittsfield, where the local population attacked and killed many. This adds another layer of danger and uncertainty to their journey. They finally reach the outskirts of Hancock, a settlement surrounded by a high fence. The sight is both hopeful and ominous. They are greeted by electric lights and the sound of a generator, but also by wary guards and a sense of enforced order. Inside Hancock, they meet Esther, a skilled doctor, and Byron, a young man who acts as her assistant. They are taken to brother-sister house, a makeshift hospital. Esther examines Keller and Bix, confirming the severity of their conditions. She reveals the harsh reality of Hancock. It operates on a system of debt, where people must work off the cost of food, shelter, and medicine. A man named Childs is in charge, and he is ruthless and controlling. A conflict arises when Childs arrives, demanding that Esther not waste precious antibiotics on Keller. Mary defies him, physically defending Keller, and is beaten in the process. This scene highlights the brutality and injustice of Hancock's power structure. Esther, Byron, and Mary decide they must escape Hancock, taking Keller and Bix with them. They plan a daring escape, utilizing a hidden wagon Byron has been building. Nonie is tasked with rescuing Mary from the ice house, where she has been imprisoned by Childs. The storm provides cover for their escape. A confrontation ensues with Childs, ending with Esther killing him. It's a brutal scene, showcasing the desperation and violence that have become commonplace in this broken world. They flee Hancock in the wagon, with Mary injured and Keller and Bix still critically ill. The journey is fraught with danger, but they are driven by a shared determination to survive and reach the farm. They continue their journey, walking beside the wagon that carries Keller and Bix. They are weary, and the loss of father haunts them. Esther confirms that not only is the Sally ride real, but that she has met someone from the boat, Virginia. This renews Nonie's hope. They reach the farm, finding it abandoned but intact. The sight of the house, with its peeling paint and overgrown vines, is bittersweet. It represents a potential haven, but also a reminder of the losses they've endured. The narrative ends with Nonie acknowledging the water, a symbol of both destruction and connection, and expressing a newfound sense of purpose and hope. They are at the farm, together, and free. If you enjoyed this book breakdown, please consider liking this video and subscribing to get notified when we post our next book.